Now, I don't say this often.
I don't say this often.
Now, I don't say this often. He's going to be a wild card in the league. Welcome back to the Wildcards Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Coleman Mallon. I'm joined here today with my fellow co-hosts,
Joshua Sykes,
Brandon Harkey.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is a very important day, not only for us, the hosts and the co-hosts of the Wildcards Podcast, but for a lot of people in Kentucky, it is also a very big day. Recently, or I guess in the past week, I think it was Sunday night when the first rumors started swirling around on Reddit and Twitter and all the message boards that are unfortunately pay to view, which is unbelievable. Side note, anyway. And Calipari, John Calipari, it was like, oh, there's no way. But there's the rumor that he was going to leave for Arkansas, and it turned out a couple hours later, it was confirmed. So John Calipari got poached pretty much by Arkansas. Reports came out that he was offered a contract that was just, you can't turn that down. Cal had already been, trying to leave. Reports came out after that he wanted to go to UCLA back in 2019, and he was even earlier this year considering to go to not Iowa State. No one would go to Iowa State. Ohio State, which I also really can't fathom. And he was thinking about that during the year. Reports about people close to Cal said that. So basically, Cal left. He is now the head coach at the University of Arkansas, which, I'm kind of Josh and I are kind of like on the fence about. I mean, it's not even on the fence. I'm disappointed because Cal was someone that, as a UK basketball fan, he's kind of been the face of Kentucky since I was born. He was hired in 2009. That's around the time, maybe a little bit beforehand when I was or maybe a little after when I was able to be sentient to basketball and college basketball. And the first time I ever remember watching a Kentucky basketball game, which is the UConn championship where we lost 2011, and Cal was the coach. So my very first memory of college basketball was with Cal in it. So it's just weird to see him gone. Josh, you have anything to add about that?
I want everybody to take a moment of silence for John Calipari and his 15 years. Nah, screw that. Mark Pope season, baby. We on
yes,
the Pope
sir.
era.
Mark Pope is the new head coach of Kentucky men's basketball, and that is it could come to a surprise to some people because Mark Pope is not a name that jumps into everyone's head. A lot of people probably don't know who the hell he coached for. And I should probably not say hell because he did coach for BYU. So he was a coach for BYU. Before that, he was a assistant at Georgia. And I think he also was it Milwaukee doing something or something like that? Yeah, I think there was a transition school in there somewhere. But before that, he was a Kentucky Wildcat. So this is a former player who won a national championship. He on the coached by Rick Pitino. And Rick Pitino had some strong words and support for him today. Sent out a little Twitter message saying that he had his full support and hopes he does great things. Which I think a lot of the fans were very disappointed seeing that news break last night on Twitter. It was Thursday night when it was actually Thursday morning.
Don't you mean you were upset last night?
I was upset. I was very upset. Okay, listen. This is why I'm upset because Kentucky men's basketball is like the pinnacle of basketball, right? At least college basketball. We all know the Wolves are the pinnacle of the NBA.
All right, buddy.
No, but listen. Both teams are blue. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, but Kentucky is really they are the blue blood. And I'm biased. What? I don't care. They're the blue blood.
Oh, where do you get these?
Brandon, don't act like Michigan State is in this conversation.
I'm not saying Michigan State. I'm just saying UCLA, Kansas. I mean,
even UCLA hasn't been relevant in 33 decades, bro.
So they still have it's all about legacy.
It's not about their legacy is winning against players who this is before basketball came out. Really, it's just not even a real.
They were still putting peach in the hoop. They were still doing the peach basket stuff.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I don't think no one considers UCLA. Okay, UCLA is 1B. Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, and who am I missing? UNC are 1A, and maybe even UConn. UConn is 1A. And I think that's but of those, I mean, Kentucky has 8 championships. We're going to get number 9 next year. It's just but no, that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that
no. We're going to make 9, 10, and 11 3 years straight. First three-peat ever.
A lot of what I was going for, I guess, in my last statement was that a lot of people were not happy with the hire. And what I was trying to say was yesterday, I woke up, and the news was that Scott Drew had turned down the offer. So we went from Scott Drew, and then we found out later in the day that we had made a record-breaking offer to Dan Hurley, who is the UConn coach, which we'll talk about later because that national championship game also happened this weekend. And he turned that down. It was the biggest offer ever to a college coach, and it turned it down. I think it was $100 million for
8 years.
8 years.
It was 12 and a half. It was 12 and a half a year.
Which definitely, let's be real, the Kraft family, which is the biggest booster for UK, Joe Kraft, I think they're in the coal business. It would have been more than that. If Hurley, if it was a matter of money, they would have made it happen. And Hurley decided that he wanted to stay at UConn, which is understandable, right? Because they just won back to back. Okay, it's not understandable for the
That is generational wealth, brother.
Sure.
That is like, no.
But I understand from someone gave this perspective to me. The difference between someone like your average person making, what was the average? Let's say the average salary is $50,000, which I think with inflation is probably saying. Let's just say you're making the average salary. If someone were to go and double that, right? That would be life changing. If you're the average person making $50,000 a year, something like that. I don't know what it is. I don't want to be like the average is like that when it's really not. But you know what I'm trying to say. If you're a coach who's making I think his contract right now is $5 million a year, which I'm sure he'll try to leverage for more since he just won back-to-back championships. The amount of money that difference is, sure, it's generational wealth. But if $5 million isn't already generational wealth, then I don't know where you're really going to go from there. Like, what do you want? 100 mil? Like, at that point, there's not really anything else you can do. In my opinion, I'm sure there's people that could like do more. If you're like a businessman or something, you can do more. But he's a coach, right? He's not trying to buy as many properties to sell for profit. Or
he was about to be a 1/10 of a billionaire.
Sure,
in less than a decade.
I'm sure that UConn will, and I know UConn's state system with their universities is a little different with how they approach pay, but in that it has to be passed in the government, I think, actually, which is like just a unique thing about Connecticut. But I'm sure he's going to get paid, not as much as he would have at Kentucky, but I think it was a family decision, just like it was with Scott Drew. Scott Drew said it was his faith that drove him to stay in Waco, which,
God told me something differently, so I don't know where.
What did he tell you, Josh?
He told me Scott Drew was going to lead us to the promised land, but maybe my signals got crossed with my emotions.
It must have.
So, I respect his decision, though. Scott Drew is
there's nothing really if you disagree with it or agree with it, there's not really anything you can do to tell a man whose faith drove him to do something. It's whatever. It is what it is. He's not going to change his mind. And I know he had, I think, at least one. What's the word called for your kids? There you go. Jesus. He had one child, at least one at Baylor, and then a couple at high school. It's hard to make that transition. So I understand.
His daughter was at Baylor and he had two sons in high school.
And I think they were building like a house in Waco too, probably with Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Oh my God, Chip! He cracked me up on Twitter. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, there was a lot of dialogue. Chip was like, "We need him to stay," and he did. So, but yeah. So Scott. But the point I'm trying to make is that I woke up thinking Dan Hurley or Scott Drew could be the coach, and then I went to bed knowing that Mark Pope was going to be the coach. So that's just like how things changed in a day. It kind of made me disappointed because there's proven coaches out there, and we got Mark Pope. But as the night progressed, and I began to read more and look at his history. I mean, this is a guy. He's a smart guy, right? He dropped out of medical school at Columbia University, one of the most prestigious medical schools in the world. In his third year, that's like after I think he was on a scholarship, but that's after most people pay like upwards of a couple $100,000 in debt. If you're the normal, I'm sure he got something, but
he's pretty much doing residency at that point. He pretty much was like, "Yo, screw these people, patience wise," and I'm just like, I don't like working with people.
Well, okay, I don't think that's how. I think what he said was, and I know you're joking, but I think his thing was like he can't live without coaching, and it's an incredible decision to leave a position like that when you're at a prestigious on a path, all that, the whole thing. So I think that speaks to him, and overall, I'm just excited for his coaching. I'm sure it's gonna be a rocky ride at first. I mean, Kentucky might not be getting the top 5 recruiting class every year like we did with Cal, but I think the teams will be better, just because I think Cal goes for guys who have more stars, and Pope goes for guys who will make themselves into a better team. That's my opinion, and that's what I hope for. So. Any last opinions about the Cal, Kentucky, Pope thing, Brandon, Josh?
I mean, let's Brandon, you're an outsider. Yeah. What do you think?
Some insight into this, because we've just been yapping.
I mean, I don't know. I think, obviously, Dan Hurley was never going to go to Kentucky as much as Coleman would have sold his soul for that. Scott Drew probably had a chance. I mean, Mark Pope, he's not bad. I think I can't remember if BYU won their first round game or didn't.
They did.
No,
They
they
lost to
Duquesne.
Duquesne. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So okay. I chose that upset. Put that out there.
And Brandon, guess how many tournament wins Mark Pope has?
2.
0.
That's how many Kentucky has in the last 5 years. So I think.
Well, no, we have one, brother. We have one.
Oh yeah, last year. Come on.
Yeah, shut your mouth.
Providence, Rhode Island, a very prestigious university, and we took him down handily. So I just want to put that up.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
I think this is just like, it's obviously a new era in Kentucky. Like Coleman said, John Calipari, he knows how to get like those recruits who will go to like the NBA, like most of great Kentucky point guards do. And I just think it'll be different for Kentucky fans not having all of the great recruits. But I think if Mark Pope, can leverage and use Kentucky's name and just throw money at these kids, I think Kentucky, can maybe win a chip in the next 5 years if everything goes right.
Sure. Like and I think that's all anyone can ask for, to have a coach who, if things align correctly, has the potential to lead someone to a championship. And that's what I think people were worried about. I think people were like, is this really giving us the best option? And there was other guys on the table like Billy Donovan, who won back-to-back national championships with Florida, the most recent to do it before. Obviously, UConn did it recently. So, and I guess with that, we should just move on into that because that's our next topic. UConn wins back-to-back national championships. Dan Hurley at the helm, and these are guys these are teams with it's not full of 5 stars, and that's what I hope. Oh, now
there was only one 5-star.
Yeah, or no, I don't think there was a single 5-star in the Final Four.
I think there was one on UConn, the Castle kid.
I don't think he was a 5-star coming out of high school.
He may have been a 4-star. I don't know.
I think he was a 5-star transfer because they ranked the transfers too. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was no originally committed to that university 5-star in the Final Four. Alabama, UConn, NC State, and Purdue. So just to put that out there, 5-star aren't everything in college basketball. They might be everything in the league, and they're not even.
No, Stephon Castle was a 5-star.
Okay, then yeah, I stand corrected. But just one. Right?
Yeah, it was just. I think he was the only one. They only had one 5-star in the recruiting class,
which is crazy. So yeah, I apologize. I was wrong. And we did an internal wildcard league for fantasy, or I guess not fantasy, March Madness brackets. It was Brandon, his brother, his dad, myself, Josh, a couple of our friends, and Brandon's brother, couple people, because I think we didn't do a podcast that week, so we didn't have time to set it up. But the results were that Brandon's dad proved victorious, and he won. He took it home.
I actually think I'm gonna put it to a vote. We replaced Brandon with his dad because his dad
down.
Obviously has more ball knowledge than him.
Yep.
It didn't get passed down, so I don't know what happened there.
Obviously not, because Brandon and his brother both were at the bottom. So Tyler and Brandon, you guys got to hit the book, study. But that's not to say Josh and I did any better, because we also did not do well. So.
Well, I did pick Kentucky to win it all, so I think that kind of hindered my bracket a little bit.
Just a little bit, I'll do it. And then obviously, I think Brandon's dad picked UConn, so props to him, because I mean, man.
Who could have seen that one coming?
Yeah, no, I think it was a good pick. Hey, listen, I think it was a good pick. I would not have picked UConn before. Maybe I did, but I wouldn't have picked them to just outright win. I thought for sure that it was going to be a Arizona. I don't know. That was just my opinion. I thought Arizona was built for it, and I know UConn had the potential, but I didn't think that Hurley had it in him to go back to back. And now I am knowledgeable of the talent of Dan Hurley to win games with not 5 stars. So there's that out of the way. Who wants to talk about Josh Allen? Not Bill's Josh Allen.
I'll talk about Josh Allen. Kentucky great. Led us to our first 10-win season in how many years?
300.
I was thinking 500.
Shut your mouth, brother. Anyway, Kentucky great. Product of Mark Stoops recruiting a 3-star player and turning him into an All-Pro. He signs a 5-year, $150 million deal, $88 million guaranteed with the Jaguars. I would say a top 5 pass rusher in the league. Maybe, I'd put him up there. He did have the single season Jags record of sacks. I think it was 15.5 last year. So he's on a roll right now. The Jags need everything they can get because their division's getting really, really heavy, and it's really hard to win in there. So yeah, congrats to Josh Allen. That's generational wealth right there, brother.
Yes, indeed. Moving on, we got Brandon, story about Shohei Ohtani's interpreter. This is some interesting stuff, Brandon. Let's go.
Yeah, so Shohei's ex-interpreter, obviously, I cannot pronounce his name because it is fully Japanese, and I'm just, a Florida boy, so I don't want to make myself look stupid. But
Yeah, cut him some slack, guys.
Well, you just did, so go ahead.
His ex-interpreter, he turned himself into the feds after he apparently, was stealing money from Shohei Ohtani to pay off his gambling debts. He owes Shohei $16 million. And I saw a thing that I want to say he had bet over somewhere over like $160 million.
Yeah.
And he won like 145.
I think it's pretty good.
So, I mean, he was winning.
I mean, pretty good. No, he was winning, but he didn't win enough to break even.
A few of those were locks, though.
Okay, I'm sure he had some good locks, but dude, I think that's like a 20 mil loss. I mean, that's
just to put that out there to our viewers. Don't gamble unless it's a lock.
Okay, all right. Okay, no. Never gamble unless it's against.
Unless it's a lock.
But yeah, unless it's like, actually no, I can't even like make a joke.
Unless it's like Phoenix playing
Minnesota. All right,
bro.
Calm down. All right, we'll see tonight because they play tonight. We'll get to that when we talk about our games. What's happening with the Masters, guys?
Right now, I think Tiger. Last time I stopped watching it, it was Tiger was 1 over, that means he's even on the day. He was 1 over at the end of his first round. Let's see. I'm looking at the leaderboard right now. He is 1 over through 16. The leader is Bryson DeChambeau. He's even today, but he shot 7 under yesterday. Scotty Scheffler is tied with him. He shot 1 under today. He's at 7 under as well. And Max Homa is at 6 under right now through 15. Really, Max Homa was looking good. He's in a pairing with Tiger. He's been playing very, very good. He's 1 under on the day, like I said. Tiger, he's looking good. He's having some tough shots. His second shots aren't the greatest, but he's making up with it with a short game. Yeah, I mean, Brandon, who else have you been watching? Have you watched anyone else?
No, I was going to ask Brandon, like, who's been the most surprising? Brandon knows golf. You guys know golf way more than I do.
I mean, obviously, to me, the most surprising is Bryson DeChambeau, only because I watch the PGA Tour. I don't watch Live Golf. And, I'm looking at this list, and he's like one of the big names from Live Golf to come over and, dominate still. I'd say one of the more disappointing stories is Jordan Spieth. I don't know, like, what's happened to him these past couple of years, but as of right now, he's 9 over through 14. So he's not, that's 2 over today. I really wish, he was just doing better because he has won the Masters tournament before. And another one that's disappointing is Rory McIlroy, only because this is like the one that he cannot win. If he does win the Masters, he completes a Grand Slam, and he's been in the Masters, I think it's 10 times, and he just hasn't won, whereas Tiger, has won 5 times. And Tiger Woods, I would say, is the most surprising for me because...
Is that he's doing well? Is it surprising?
I mean, 1 over, like, he's beating, like, he's doing better than John Rahm, who was a big name.
He's tied with Justin Thomas.
Victor Hovland, Shane Lowry. He's competing, and he's, all these injuries that he's had, these car accidents, all these surgeries, just for him to be able to go out here and play great golf is just
that's good.
Crazy.
Yeah. And yeah, we all know that Tiger Woods was taking some, precautionary, I should say, measures before his tournament. So it's good to see that those might be playing off, and as he gets up there in age. And not some more controversial, I guess, news. Is it even controversial?
Can I say this?
Sure, go for it.
Yesterday,
oh, here we go.
The Broncos that drive around, I don't know who makes the Bronco. Who makes the Bronco? Ford? Okay, I was making sure I wasn't going to say it wrong. The Ford Broncos driving around yesterday were at half mast.
Okay. All right.
Because the person that made him famous, O.J. Simpson, has died at the age of 76 due to prostate cancer. Yeah, I mean, prayers to his family. Sorry to go through a loss like that. So, yep, that's about it. That's all in that statement. Unless you want to add something, Coleman.
I mean, I'll add. I think there's most people know the baggage that comes along with talking about a guy like O.J. Simpson, and all the stuff that he wasn't just alleged of doing, but probly,
you think he did? You think he did it?
Probably.
Hold on, Reddit. Do you think so?
I mean, if the glove doesn't fit, man.
And hey, well, I think we could also we don't need to ask O.J. Simpson because he's already weighed in on that. He says he avoids to this day. Well, I guess till yesterday that he avoided Los Angeles because he always felt like he could be sitting next to whoever did it. So I think that just speaks to his alleged incident or innocence.
Oh, he didn't want to sit next to a mirror? Is that what he's?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, and obviously one of the most infamous court cases of all time, just situations of all time, bizarre, sad, and honestly, I think it's been long enough to where we can say, like, slightly. No, I don't know if I can say funny, but you know what I mean. It's still kind of
confusing.
It's confusing, and that's what brings the funny aspect to it. It's not funny like what happened, but it's definitely funny that the outcome and how things have resulted since. So obviously you never want to see anyone die, but there's definitely some like context to his whole story. So yeah, there's that.
I don't know if this like means anything, but I was watching this like on SportsCenter when it first came out, and SportsCenter put on this guy, like this news guy, and he was telling the story, and he's like, honestly, and he like said like the reporter's name. I'm not going to be sad today. Like he's a murderer, and then they like took him off the air, and I was like,
that's crazy.
That's a fair point, though.
Breaking news! BYU shooting guard Jackson Robinson, 6'7", shooting guard, 5th-year graduate, expected to transfer to Kentucky.
There you go. The first big piece Mark Pope adds. And you heard it here first, or I guess kind of corroborate.
We're breaking news here
on the Wildcards podcast, even though it wasn't our direct reporting. It was. Josh did some very investigative reporting
Schefter,
on
brother.
Twitter. Yep. So our journalists do the best work here at the Wildcards podcast. We scroll Twitter the fastest. We have the fastest refreshes on the Twitter page to see the latest news that we find. So I want to just shout out Josh there with the quick fingers. But moving on, we got Moving on, we got Jrue Holiday re-signing with the Celtics, getting a little extension action. $135 million for 4 years. Now, I'm not a Celtics fan by any means, but it's hard to undermine the defensive and playmaking impact that Jrue Holiday has on the floor. There's just not going around it. Obviously, the Celtics are one of the craziest super teams. This year's Celtics, I should say, are one of the craziest super teams ever formed, in my opinion. Just because they have players that get made fun of doesn't mean that they aren't a great team, an outstanding team, really, and obviously the clear runaway favorite to win the title. When you have a team that's this good and that has expectations to win the title, I don't think I remember a team besides maybe when the Warriors were playing, or maybe the 16 Warriors, that had expectations to win the title like this ever. And even before the Warriors, I don't know if there was a team like this. Because listen, anything less than a championship is a bust for this team. Literally, you could take a team to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals and it's a bust. You could take a team to 7 games in the finals and it's a bust. If you don't, and I'll even go as far as to say, if you don't win the NBA Finals in 5 games, this year's 2024 or 2023 to 2024 Celtics have been a bust. Is that a fair take or no?
You're saying if they don't win the finals?
If they don't win the finals in 5 games.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that because obviously like the finals is like it's the best East versus best West. 5 games is a little crazy, but
no, I don't think it is.
I would say if they don't win the finals, then it's definitely a failure.
Okay.
I mean, you could say that for most teams, but
sure, but they're paying so much money.
They put the most money into a team, and
yes,
to like lose is just not good.
And speaking of that money, Brandon, how long do you think how big is this window? How long do the Celtics really have left, especially with the the Jaylen Brown situation, which is a whole other thing.
Brown. I don't know when Jason Tatum's due for.
Tatum's due in 26, 27.
So, that's your window.
Yeah,
sure.
I would say, and I think. I mean, I don't think you could pay Porzingis, so I'd give him until 2027.
Okay, so listen to this.
That might be a little egregious.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if they had the choice, they're going to take Tatum over Brown unless something crazy happens.
Yeah,
God forbid an injury.
They'll try to trade Brown, and then
I think, but who's gonna? They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to let him go. I'm not gonna lie. No one's picking up because let's say they trade him next year. There's still, I think, 250 million guaranteed.
I think the Rockets, somebody like the Rockets or like the Wizards might pick him up. I don't know.
I mean, he's a great player, obviously. Like that. I'm just saying the contract that he got is so.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Celtics didn't make that, if they somehow find a way to give him less than that, I think that they would have the opportunity to have an actual dynasty for like 5-6 years. That one move has prevented that. It just eliminated that option unless they find some terrible team or some absolute bum general manager to agree to a trade or something that alleviates this contract. No one's going to pick that up in their right mind.
And honestly, I don't know why they paid him that much with somebody that doesn't have a left hand.
Like, that was before the allegations. That was before the allegations.
No, dude, the allegations always been there.
No, I back in college he had a pretty good left hand at Cal, and the problem is, I don't know. I'm just really nervous for the Celtics because jeez. I'm just looking at what they're paying Jalen, and it just keeps getting bigger each year. So he's getting paid this year 31.8, next year 49.7.
Jesus.
No, it gets worse. Next year 53.6, then it goes to 57, then to 61, and then it caps things off, ladies and gentlemen, at a grand total of $65.6 million per year in the last year, 28 to 29.
God.
In that year, he's the only person
who made that contract.
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
Is that Brad Stevens? Bro needs to be
I think
fired.
it was. I think that's when I mean that's like anywhere else that's a legacy defining signing. It's like kind of the same thing with Mitch Barnhart.
Signing Kobe.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if you pay Kobe that much in today's NBA. Prime Kobe, I don't give anyone that. Okay, realistically, no player should be worth. I mean, what's the salary cap these days?
Devin Booker's up there.
You're right. I think you should pay Devin Booker 80. And obviously,
he is pretty much the Suns brand at this point.
The only reason Jaylen Brown's getting that much is obviously because it's obviously because like it increases each year. So the first couple years, they weren't paying him as much. But that's the thing. And 65.6 won't look as. I think it's like in some ways I can see what they were doing. And if it was Brad Stevens, was it Brad Stevens? Was that? It must have been.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're the GM. So
yeah. Well, I don't know if you like what went into that. I should research that more. But I'm pretty sure it was. And obviously more people had input on the call. But 65.6 in 28 to 29 is not going to be 65.6 in 23, 24. Okay, there's going to be inflation. There's going to be all that stuff. The salary cap is going to increase. The luxury tax rules might be different. There might be, more aprons. And obviously the Celtics can afford to go dive into those aprons if they're going to add more or extend the range of the current ones. So there is room. Like, they have time for the things to fall in place. I'm not saying that they're completely out. Well, I kind of almost just did, but it's just so daunting to look at 65.6.
But do they do that for Jaylen Brown if they don't have a Jason Tatum? Because Jaylen Brown is not a superstar by himself.
Oh, definitely not.
I think like young Robin to Batman.
I think that it would be much different if the 26-year-old, the younger, might I add, because sometimes I forget that Jason Tatum is younger than Jaylen Brown. If that contract was on him, not by much, but if that contract was on him, the 26-year-old Jason Tatum, I think it would be less. Jason Tatum would be clowned more, like just in general, by the general NBA fan public.
I don't know though. I mean, like Jason Tatum would deserve more of that money.
He definitely deserves more. Jason Tatum should have that contract, and obviously things didn't line up that way, and no one can predict the future. But he should have that contract because I would rather have a guy like Jason Tatum have that contract to be able to like negotiate with. It's harder to negotiate someone picking up that contract with Jaylen Brown than it is Jason Tatum, who's a superstar.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Brennan? What are the Celtics going to do in 2 years? If they're, or are they just going to blow it up? I mean,
I think in 2 years, I think they probably Porzingis will be gone
for sure.
Tingus Pingus, obviously.
Who the hell is Tingus Pingus? And one of the best NBA videos of all time. And speaking, dude, the draft's coming up.
Yeah, I would say they probably re-sign Tatum to probably give him the biggest deal in NBA history, and try to get rid of Jaylen Brown to, I'd say, like the Blazers or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna have to be a team that doesn't or has in a complete rebuild mode who can, like, I guess, afford to do that. I mean, It's gonna have to be a special situation. So I wish them luck. We kind of, or I guess it was kind of my fault, but we kind of left on that one for a while or lingered on that. Moving on. Does anyone want to talk about Rashee Rice, which we spoke about in the last podcast? A little update.
I guess I can. Rashee Rice, obviously, coming off his rookie year with the Chiefs, just won the Super Bowl and everything. He was, he ran away from an alleged car accident. I mean, it was a car accident, but people didn't know it was him at first. We just assumed because it was his car. But he has officially turned himself into the police after he was wanted. There was a warrant out for his arrest. And yeah, sad to see all these young players just doing no good, but we talked about that last week, so
Sure.
there's not much to talk about.
No need to reiterate it, I guess. Yeah. Thank you, Brennan. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's like no, we said we were not going to reiterate. If you wanna find out our thoughts, you go to the last podcast. But yeah, moving on, we got NBA draft stuff. Like I was just talking about, it's coming up. I think it's in June. When was it last year? Because they do the drawing before.
I think it's June. Yeah.
Because I remember watching like the draw. I feel like the drawing is almost more fun than the lottery.
Well, not for Pistons fans.
Yeah, definitely not for Pistons fans, because if they're the worst team in the league, they'll always get like the 8th pick. So there's that to look forward to. Sorry, Brennan. Last year, obviously the Pistons were the worst team, ended up with the 5th pick, kind of screwed them out of. I mean, the narrative would be so much different around the National Basketball Association if the Pistons got the first pick. I mean, obviously, but like you don't need to be like a genius to understand that. But it's just kind of crazy to think about, like, what would it be like right now if Wemby was on the Pistons? I think it's better for. I'm sorry to say, especially with Monty Williams and how he's performed with the roster. I think better. And I think it's better that he's being coached by Pop. But for sure, definitely is like makes you think, like, what would the landscape be like?
Yeah.
Josh, do you want to talk about the NBA draft prospects going to deciding to go pro?
Yeah, there's a few as recent as today. Jared McCain, he is projected. Well, of course, he's entered the NBA draft. Projected number 12 to OKC Thunder via the Rockets. I don't know if I agree with him going that high. I mean, he had a good ending of the season, but to begin the season it was a little rocky. His teammate Kyle Filipowski, sophomore from Duke. I don't really care for him, but at the same time, he was their leading scorer. He's actually projected to go 13th to the Blazers via the Warriors. And I'm looking at these pro comps here. Jared McCain's pro comp is Emmanuel Quickly. Don't agree with that one, but that's okay. I'm not an insider on that. And then, of course, it would be awful not to talk about Rob Dillingham. Moment of silence for him for Kentucky.
I mean, we can't talk about him.
Moment of silence, brother.
What, he dropped like 2 points? That's a NBA prospect right there. When they need him the most, he's dropping 2 points.
Okay, Cook,
How
Brennan.
about you shut your mouth, Brandon? Okay.
How about this?
Exactly.
Listen, at least Kentucky fans can look forward to not having these guys who only care. I'm not saying Rob and Reed, especially not Reed, care about the NBA only, because Reed had the ties to the state. But we're not going to see guys like who just go one and done anymore. So it's can definitely be. We're not going to see as many people go to the league, that's for sure, from Kentucky. But we're not going to see additionally as many people just care about going to the league. So I think it's important to note that this is probably the last time we'll ever see a lot of people in the NBA draft from Kentucky. Other players.
There's not really that many.
There's Reeves. There's who else we have? So we have Antonio Reeves, Rob Dillingham, Reed Shepherd.
Reed Shepherd's not. Hey, whoa, chill out.
Okay, my bad.
Reed Shepherd's coming back, brother.
Oh, okay. So
what are we doing here?
Coming back. Okay, and then also there's people that there's also people who think that at some point, if it works out in the combine or not the combine, like private workouts and stuff like that, that Big Z could get drafted. Zvonimir Ivisic. So that's probably out of the picture at this point.
I hope not. I hope he comes back play with.
He's not on any draft boards. He's not on any draft boards, but that could happen potentially.
Anyway, Rob Dillingham is slotted to go number 2 to the Wizards. Of course, I mean that's the highest of any NCAA player, and he came off Kentucky's bench. Just to let you know, Brandon. Obviously, he's the GOAT.
Okay, let me ask you.
His pro comp is Darius Garland. All right, go ahead.
Let me ask Brennan a question. So obviously the Pistons are terrible. Sorry. Let's say the Pistons get their rightly deserved number 1 pick. Isn't it? So it's a top 3 get the equal chance, right? Which I think is dumb. I think it should be the first pick gets the most percentage. I still think the lottery is good, but Am I right when I say the first pick and the top three have the same chance?
Yeah, I think top three do. Yeah.
Which is I don't agree with that, but it kind of whatever. So
This Curry is tanking though.
sure, I get that. That makes sense. But for Brennan, I feel bad because let's say Detroit does get the first pick. All right, who would you want out of this? Some people are saying it's the weakest draft class of all time. Who would you want?
I mean, I'm just looking, and I guess I would just say Alexander Sarr because,
bro, what a bum, dude.
Well, if you really think about it, like the Pistons, we don't need another guard.
Yeah, you guys need a true center,
right? And this guy,
I thought you had Jared Duran though. I mean, Jalen Duran.
Yeah, but I mean, we could move him over. We had to.
You guys need a footer, and Alexander Sarr. I think
he's 7'1". He's 18.
I think if Josh is just mad that he didn't go to Kentucky like Olivier Sarr, like his brother.
Well, yeah. I mean, we got the worst one. So what do you mean? I would be mad. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Both I guess two of the top like 5 prospects are from France, international. They didn't go to college in the States, but I think one of the top, at least on the draft boards I'm looking at or have been looking at recently, one of the top college players is either Cody Williams or Dalton Nett, which is kind of telling because I mean, weren't the best. I mean, Dalton Nett is really good at basketball, and I say that as a Kentucky fan. Obviously, he went to Tennessee.
Kennett. Don't say Net. You said Net.
Is it not Kennett or is it not Net?
Kennett. It's Kennett.
Oh. Dalton Kennett is like he's explosive. He definitely doesn't play like you would think he'd play. He has some explosive plays that you just would not expect, to be honest. And I think
is he like sneaky athletic?
Okay. He can shoot the 3 ball really well. He just kind of shoots tour dates sometimes, which is like his only flaw. He just kind of just starts shooting, which might not be a flaw, dude. Because if you can knock him down like Grayson Allen can, I guess Grayson Allen doesn't shoot the highest clip, but if you shoot like Grayson Allen this year, have the insane 3-point shooting year, then yes, you can be a great player. I'm not saying he's anything like Grayson Allen, but if he can shoot that ball well, that 3 ball, I think he can be an actual starter in this league. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of like NBA draft. It's coming up in a couple months here. Then we have the NFL draft coming up, I think, in a couple weeks. So that's something to look forward to. Definitely. Last year we had our live NFL draft reaction. I don't know if we'll be able to do that this year because it kind of lies up in our finals week for college, but we'll see. And that's pretty much all the main things we have to go talk about today, except for our Feels Good Story of the Week. Don't worry, didn't forget that. That's our weekly thing. Jackson Holliday. Everyone knows him. Well, most people know him. He's the AAA, best prospect for the last 4 years, right?
Well, he was drafted first overall pick in 2022, so 2 years.
Well, I think he was still like on a prospect, like that the big board for the. I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like coming out of high school and everything, like he was, well recognized, well scouted.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty good, but as like the MLB's like number 1 guy, he's just been in the minors for 2 years. So
gotcha. Okay. And he's been playing for obviously the Orioles, have their insane AAA team, the Norfolk Tides. And it's just it's a ridiculous team, to be honest. If you look at their team and like the prospect ranks that they have, it's pretty crazy. A lot of those guys
think they could beat the A's.
That's what I was saying to Brennan actually before you joined today, but on the Zoom call. Brennan, did I ask that?
You literally said
I said, do you think they could beat the A's? And Brennan said, what did you say, Brennan?
I said probably not.
He said I think he said like definitely not. You were more confident than that.
I said I'm pretty sure I said definitely not. I mean, you like y'all can't like the A's are like they're not even the worst team this year. But
what are the Marlins? Marlins the worst?
It's the Marlins or the White Sox.
White Sox are. I mean, dude, the White Sox are barely an MLB team. Okay. I think that they could take 2 games in a 7-game series. That's and maybe that's a no ball knowledge take, but dude, if you look at the guys in there, they're hitting MLB numbers. Like those guys are actually batting like over 300. A lot of those guys, and I know it's the minor leagues, all right? Like I'm not like oblivious to that, but those are all like ranked prospects who like are supposed to hit that in the minors and in the majors. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think that they could take a game or 2 if they had a good game, really good game. But I mean, Brandon, if you disagree, make sure tell me because I don't. I want to make sure that.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, like a series like that, let's say like it's like a World Series 7 games. Like, yeah, I would hope they could take like a game. Maybe like the A's at the Athletics pitcher like isn't on his A game. Where people.
Oh, I get the pun.
But I don't know. I don't see like I'm not like obviously I'm not MLB or in the minors, but like they're in the minors for a reason.
Sure.
So, and that's most of it is just to like help them grow and
Well, they spent so much like time
development.
developing them. They don't want to bring him out. I mean, the Orioles like honestly, there's like two different philosophies. You could say they're you put them in the league right away and you make them adjust, right? That's kind of like the same thing as those guys in college going one and done, just right into the league, because that will make you, when you're facing adversity, it'll help you grow faster. And there's the other philosophy that you put them in there, you train them up so that they're ready once they get to the league. And obviously, that's what the Orioles are doing with their top prospects. They're insane prospect farm. But yeah, that's just a little bit about the Orioles system that going on. And Jackson Holliday, that's our feels good story of the week. He went into the league, got called up for the first time. First at bat, struck out. That's not the feels good part. All right, so don't outrage. That's not the feels good part of the story. The feels good part of the story is that you got a fielder's choice single, a little improvement. Later, you got an RBI. So, first, game called up to the majors. I mean, when you're a guy like Jackson Holliday, you see all those call up videos on YouTube where it's like, oh, you're going to the big league, son, and they're all like freaking out, calling their mom. Jackson Holliday is probably like, about damn time. Obviously, he's going to the league. He was like. He's like probably had the least reaction out of anyone who's ever been called up ever. Probably doesn't care. Jeez, that was a voice crack. Probably doesn't care. But yeah, so the Orioles the Orioles are gonna have a good one for a long time, and hopefully he does well. So that's our feels good story of the week. Jackson Holliday finally getting his chance. And with that being said, I think that's the end of our like major news section. Let's move on to the games of the week. So, Brandon, do you want to do that?
Yeah, man. So, obviously, as y'all know, this is our last week was week 1 of season 3, and Josh chose karaoke as our punishment. And so
I hate you, Josh.
last week, we picked some of the March Madness games, baseball and NBA, and Josh went 5-5, 50-50.
I mean, a dog could do that, right? Like, let's say you put two treats out in front of the teams. Like, a
I mean,
dog,
I
a dog
I
can do
know
that,
you're
right?
not talking to the double champ like that.
All right, you're right.
No,
you're
you're
right.
wrong. No, you're wrong.
My fault, Mr. Champion.
And me and Coleman, we both went 8-2. Coleman actually was 8-0, and then texted in our group chat, "Perfect week incoming?" ? And then he decided the next 2 games. So Josh can be mad at him.
He pulled a
for
Brandon
that,
at the end of the week. He pulled a Brandon.
Well, obviously not, because Brennan won those 2 games. Brennan, I mean, yeah, I did pull a Brennan. Selling the end of the week like he did last season. Generational sell, really. But yeah, okay. I just want to say, going back to last season, that's 2 back-to-back 8-2 weeks. I just want to put that out there. I'm kind of on a little insanity run here. Hopefully that continues into week 2. And Brennan, what are the games for week 2?
So today, obviously on Friday, we have Magic at 76ers.
Oh wait, Brett. Wait, sorry. I didn't even. You didn't even say where you went, right? Did you go? You said.
No, I said we both went 8-2.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I just want to make sure you got recognition because you had a good week too.
Yeah, dude. Thank you. Some people care.
No, I do.
Bring it down.
Dude,
Josh.
I care.
Josh is just embarrassed of his 5-5.
No, I care. No, Brandon screwed me over on the baseball games because I went with Brandon because Brandon does know a little bit more than me of baseball. So I was like, I'm gonna go.
Well,
with
obviously I know more.
And then obviously Coleman is like the godfather of baseball at this point. I don't know.
Maybe I did it on purpose. Maybe it was sabotage because I knew my other games were locks.
And Josh ended up his record was his height. So 5-5. It wasn't the best week, but hopefully you'll look to improve it next year. All right. So what are the games for this week?
Friday we have Magic at 76ers, both playoff teams. But we all went with the 76ers here. There's a lot of injuries, as Coleman had said.
Yeah.
But we believe that the 76ers will come out on top. And our second game on Friday is the Bucks at the Thunder. Again, both playoff teams. We all have the Thunder here. Coleman said that the fight for the number 1 seed isn't as serious as I thought it was.
It's not. Well, it's just between the Thunder and the Nuggets at this point. Nuggets are like, I think they have like the most odds. I think the Wolves have like a 7.5% chance of getting it just because, like, I think the way it plays out with the tiebreaker scenario. But it's really at this point between the Thunder and the Nuggets, unless they just lose the rest of their games, which are pretty unlikely.
Well, thank you for that, Coleman. And I believe that Giannis is not playing until the playoffs start after he suffered that injury the last game he played. So he is sitting these last couple games. So that's why I went with the Thunder. I believe Coleman obviously knew that. Josh knew that. And our last game on Friday we have is the Pelicans at the Warriors. Josh and Coleman went with the Warriors. I went with the Pelicans. You can't stop Zion. He's literally a beast. It's a lock tonight. Make sure you bet the house on 40+ points by Zion.
Shohei, if you're listening,
Yeah.
Shohei.
Mhm.
Maybe they'll let his
I
interpreter
actually
get one
got that
last
one
bet.
from Shohei. He
Oh, you-
emailed
Oh,
me
you
that.
did?
You
Yeah,
you asked his interpreter?
Josh, why did you go with the Warriors, man?
I mean, Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time. It's hard to bet against him, especially they are in the playoffs, but I think he kind of wants to prove himself one more time before he goes out.
He doesn't care.
But yeah, I don't believe in the Pelicans either. I don't think they have a good perimeter defender. Obviously they let Book score 50 on them 3 times this year.
Then he get
Curry
relegated after that.
is probably a better shooter. So yeah, I don't think they have the outside perimeter defense to stop Curry.
W breakdown.
W take. On Saturday we just have one game. We're going to baseball here. We got Brewers at the Orioles. Josh has the Brewers. Me and Coleman have the Orioles.
Brennan, you know what? I think I know why Josh picked the Brewers. I have a sneaky feeling.
Why?
Well, Baltimore is a long way from Milwaukee, right? So
That's what I was thinking.
that's one thing, and then additionally, I know you pretty well. Listen,
Thank you.
and there's just one other aspect about it, and it's
Wait, I'm confused. The Orioles are the home team.
yeah, but Milwaukee's a long ways away,
Okay.
and it's hard being that far away from home. And Josh's other reason is that they have a really great pitching staff. So, am I correct? Josh, am I correct?
Yeah, I really believe in the pitching staff of the Brewers. Great talent over there. We love to see it. Pumping some hundreds this weekend.
At least.
I don't know if they're regularly on it, but they're going to be on some special stuff this weekend. Okay, especially up there in Baltimore. They'll be on the street corners looking for some stuff, and they're going to find it, and they're going to pump hundreds. You heard it here first. That's a lock. Shohei,
Let's go.
hit me up.
Let's
Thank
go.
you for that, Josh. Yeah. On Sunday, unless someone else wants to go. Or
No,
do
you
all-
got it.
Yeah, I'm
You're
kind of
cooking right now, brother.
grooving right now.
And you have a good pick.
Sunday we have the Suns at the Wolves. Josh and Coleman with the Suns here. I've told myself I'm never picking the Suns because when I do, they let me down. So I'm going with the Wolves, and we'll go to the Lakers at the Pelicans.
Wait, no, you didn't say who picked who.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I did. I said you and Josh both picked the Suns, and I went with the Wolves.
Yeah, Coleman's downfall on his own team right here,
I'm hedging.
per usual.
I'm hedging. I win either way. I lose either way as well.
Congratulations! Look at that. Then we have Lakers at Pelicans. We all have the Pelicans here. I think Josh said that LeBron is washed, and that's why I went with the Pelicans, but I could be wrong.
Great
You're right.
reason.
Okay, that's what I thought. And our last game on Sunday, we have Mavs at Thunder. We all have the Thunder. Luka he's doing something very special. Most people think, really by most people, I mean his team believes that he should be the MVP, but I don't know.
He has
I think
2
he's-
games left.
Yeah, I mean maybe if he drops 100 points each game and the cameras aren't rolling, I'd believe it. But on Monday, we have another baseball game. We have the Texas Rangers at the Detroit Tigers. We all have the Rangers here.
Great pitching staff, I heard. Great
Yeah.
pitching staff.
Texas a long way from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't really help
nothing
them in
else
this
to say
case,
there.
but
Both good teams. Detroit's been struggling to hit. The Rangers are World Series champions, so they speak for themselves.
Pitching matchup looks favorable.
On Tuesday, our last 2 games of the week, we have the Padres at the Brewers. Josh went with the Padres. Me and Coleman went with the Brewers. Our last game of the week, we got the Atlanta Braves at the Houston Astros. Josh and Coleman went with the Braves. I went with the Astros. Coleman, why do you believe the Braves will win this one?
So I watched the game last week. We had a game, Astros at the Rangers. I picked the Astros. Brennan and Josh picked the Rangers, and the Astros won. And during that game, I saw that the Astros kind of just the Rangers rather had a meltdown. Their pitching staff just let I think it was 6 runs in the span of 2 innings, maybe more. I think there was a grand slam somewhere in there, and I just don't see the Astros doing that again. It was kind of looked like a fluke to me, especially Astros haven't been doing as well as people expected this year. I know it's early in the year, but
yeah,
just before,
I heard they took all the trash cans out That's
You're right.
true.
Yeah, they actually banned him from the stadium. So, but I think Atlanta just has better hitting. And the pitching matchup on ESPN. I think they just updated it to show who the Braves were pitching. And actually no, it's still not there. But I think who would it be? Who pitched last game? Anyway, I think that the matchup works favorably for the Braves, especially since the Astros are a fluke team. So
yeah, since I'm on the Braves bandwagon too, great pitching staff over there.
oh brother,
bats are hot. One of the greatest teams, probably, maybe MLB history. I'm gonna say. I think
it could be.
Can someone take his mic away?
Brandon, why do you think the Astros will win? Just for some insight.
I think the Astros will win only because the Braves, after Spencer Strider, I believe, might be out for the season. He has to have like an MRI on his elbow. I just don't think the Braves pitching staff is actually as good as Josh makes them out to be. And I think,
hey, don't do that. Okay, the pitching staff's there. Okay,
well, clearly, Brandon. Clearly, you don't know. Josh is actually an MLB ex pitching staff.
I was a pitching coach at one time.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Hopefully Morgan Wallen won't throw any chairs if Tennessee, releases him from the jail in time to see the game. So there's that.
Josh said this game's a lock, so there's really nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is like the greatest team of all time. Let's just put it out there. I mean, they're going to win the World Series, a clean sweep, no losses in the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah, every time.
Yeah,
sure.
That's what I'm thinking.
Take it one game at a time. I think the Braves might go 162-0. Is that what you guys are thinking?
Well, they're already 7-4, so you.
Well,
I was gonna say 158-4 because like they do have to rest their players sometimes.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
They did that early,
and they did that. Yeah.
All the way.
But now they're really well rested.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
For sure. All right. And with that being said, I want to thank everyone for listening to this episode of the Wildcards Podcast. Once again, I'm one of your hosts, Coleman Mathis. I was joined here today with my two fellow co-hosts,
Joshua Sykes,
Brandon Hartke.
That being said, peace. Have a great week.
Peace.
Peace.